All right, all right. Hello. How is it going, everybody? Andrew here, and it is time for the weekly Dev Diary Live. Give me 1 second to get all of my things set up. 1 second, here we go. All right, hey, how's it going? Why is this so weird? I spent a bunch of time setting all this stuff up beforehand, and then as soon as I jump in, I'm like, let me adjust this stuff. Well, while I make these adjustments. So, what has been going on this week? I got to fiddle with everything. All right, so what's been happening this week? Not a whole lot. So the game and where it is at is still in development, obviously, and what I had done is when I had gone ahead and started to set up the loop, this first like attack area, have our dice and we can pick them up, and we've got this, proof of concept that I'm building basically. And so I have it set up now where we can pick it up, and this is where I was last week. The difference is in the way that the code's written. So before, what I was doing is I had a resource that had the variables stored in it, and then I would just grab the resource off the variable and I was storing them in their own variables on each entity. Now it's just passing the resource. And so I can update the resource and everything just updates. I don't have to go through and like if I change a variable name or something gets messed up, it doesn't matter. It's all in the resource. Everything's being grabbed from the resource directly. So I changed all that, and that took me pretty much most of the week. So that means that I am back again, pretty much to where I was last week. Except now I have to figure out why these ones won't fill, but these ones will. So, or like that one won't. Right. So, still working on it. Definitely still making progress, but changing that was so important to just making sure that we're set up for like saving and loading information, because it's going to be saved on the resource, not on those variables. So I had to do that. The other thing that we did, which was super exciting, is we had a wonderful talk about narrative. We had about an hour and a half, 2 hour long meeting where we just, looked at what we had done with the Quiet Year, which we finished. It was awesome. And we said, hey, here's what this story gave us. What story are we going to give back? And up until this point, the framing that we had been looking at the game was one of the player was attacking enemies to gather resources, to get stronger, to kill more enemies. And one of the things that we discussed was reframing that from a destructive act where the player is attacking an enemy to what if the player is gathering resources to defend? What if they're doing things to protect? What if our story is about the community's ability to grow, to survive in a hostile land, to live in this world that they're not part of and make it a home and be a community and survive? And not have it be about killing, attacking, those kind of baser things that you do in a survival game about survival, but have it be about what it means to be that community in that sense. We're still trying to figure all this stuff out. We're just trying to figure out what story do we want to tell? How do we want to tell it? We're all going to do narrative outlines and come together and look at what each of us have. I did mine the other day. I was working on it, and I really like this idea of passing information down from generation to generation. And so each generation would basically be timed where you're trying to gather enough resources before you have to go into hypersleep, and then you would lose some of your resources but also keep a small amount. And each generation, that amount that you would keep would get greater and greater basically. So same mechanics, different framing, different story, different narrative. It's one of the reasons why we did the Quiet Year, was to get that base understanding of the world that we're building so that we could say, hey, do these fit? And then the way I design things, I've been designing things, is I am iterating constantly. I'm trying to figure out does this work? Do these work together? What does this need to work? And how do all these different systems, narrative, mechanical, aesthetics, music, all these things work together to create a single unified whole that's all working together to get the player to that state that we want them in, to feel those feelings that we want them to feel, to be engaged in the gameplay and the story, and have an experience that, you know, is greater than the sum of its parts. That's the dream. It's all now execution on the theories of how we produce that dream. And that's the most exciting part for me is, can I do it? You know, can not just I do it, but can Dayton and Jim do it? Can we as a team come together and work together to execute on a thing that ultimately none of us have experience on making? Our abilities in this area are all being tested as we learn new things, and it's very exciting. I'm very, very happy for where we're at and what we're doing. The other problem with this week, besides it being a great week to get all this stuff done, is, that's right, baby, it is Silksong week. And if it's Silksong week, means I've been playing Silksong, y'all. Straight up. It is an amazing game. The movement tech is off the chain. Like, my biggest surprise is that it's so much more of like a Souls-like than I was expecting. Hollow Knight didn't feel that way, but Silksong totally does. Just damage boosted those guys. So yeah, that's been the week. This is pretty much, I mean, the past 2 days I've been doing this a whole lot for obvious reasons. So a little bit shorter of a dev week, but you got to play games to make games, and this is a great example of a great game. So that's it for me on this week's Dev Diary. I am obviously going to be doing a little bit of game playing myself. And I hope that you'll play some good games, you'll stick with us, like, subscribe, and do all those things, and hopefully soon we'll have something for you to play. So please come back, check in on what we're doing, and have a great day, and enjoy Hollow Knight. Bye! Ah, crap. Now I gotta figure out how to get out of this.